you guys really get right into it.
Yeah.
Here we are.
There's captive audience. Can't
I was thinking about it. Like, I've probably known you for, I don't know, 10 years at this point. You've been my boss for like 5 or 6. I don't think we've ever done a pod, just me and you.
No, you were on Art of the Take.
Well, I don't remember that. Did we do that? Did we do Art of the Take? I feel like I was never on.
No, you were on, buddy.
I was on. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. You were on. One of the worst podcast appearances of all time. But I don't think you and I have ever done one together.
I was going to say, yeah, I don't think so. Certainly a interesting game to have to do it for the first one.
Yep. Very interesting. If there's time at the end, I do want to ask you about the wait a minute. I keep hearing myself. You're not using headphones like a casual.
I never use headphones. Am I supposed to?
Yeah. Do you have like earbuds or something you can plug in?
I believe I have some upstairs. I have AirPods. Is this?
I would use them. I can hear myself on your.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
All right. I do StreamYard every day and never use them. So
no, you should use headphones. Yeah. We'll wait. What is with these casuals? He's a podcaster.
That is interesting because there is echo cancellation on StreamYard, and he says he uses it. So you would think that.
Did I hear it?
Yeah, no, I hear it too. You would think that it would just be like known at that point that that's what would happen.
Jesus Christ.
Happens to the best of them.
But what's his name? Lefko didn't have headphones either.
Yeah, I think Lefko was just like at his friend's house, just kind of like pulled the laptop out of the bag and was like, all right, let's go. Let's do this.
So everybody's acting like they're they're at a 2:30 Zoom, you know, with it's a fucking podcast. What are we doing?
Even my Zoom calls, I gotta wear headphones.
I do.
I'm always afraid of the echo.
Yeah, really? I hate the echo.
Yeah, that's fair.
I know. It is a good take, Ed. I promise we'll get going right away here. Just to hang out with us. It's fucking Elliot. It's just unbelievable. It's just I heard myself again and I looked at him and I'm like, this motherfucker's not even wearing headphones. There we go.
All right.
So after you connect, just make sure that your mic is still your mic instead of your AirPods mic.
Just basic tech support that we do in most pre-pods.
Yeah, sorry.
Nothing out of the ordinary.
Yeah.
Bluetooth settings. All right, let me connect. Of course, this is happening. I literally was like, spent 15 minutes getting ready for this.
You were our quickest ready guy.
That's what I mean. Like I was good to go. Like,
yeah. Are you ready?
It's finding the AirPods. Give me a second.
Oh my goodness.
I know. I'm feel very bad about this.
This was the first time in a while.
You do know I was not good at technology.
But you use headphones. You're in radio.
I use StreamYard every single day, and it's like this. It always is fine. Different. Okay. It's literally not connected. Hold on.
Just connect one of them. Connect one of them, and go to Bluetooth in your fucking settings.
Doing it. Yeah.
Okay. I know he's a rookie,
dude. I'm telling you,
put up all the bad comments about ESP. There we go.
I'm telling you, man. Like okay, here we go. I found non-AirPod.
There we go. Jesus Christ. Well, I'm gonna start while you fucking fix this.
I'm very sorry.
It's okay. I'm gonna start. You don't have to say anything for a while till after the song. You know,
people will like that.
Yeah, the rights to Ricky Sanchez podcast is presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. Sign up for DraftKings Sportsbook by using promo code RTRS, and brought to you by Big Barker Therapeutic Dog Beds. Get yours at bigbarker.com/Ricky. Briggs Auction, the official auction of the process at briggsauction.com. And Stateside Urban Craft Vodka, the official sponsor of the Corner 3 newsletter with Zoe, statesidevodka.com. Well, on the show today, the Sixers go up 3-0 in one of maybe the most disgusting playoff win of the process. And Greg Monroe started a playoff game for the Sixers that they won. And this one was worse. Sixers guy, Elliot Shore Parks, sits in for Mike.
Not technology guy, Sixers
Not
guy.
a technology guy, but
is that
a
good?
Sixers guy. Yes, you sound great.
You can't hear yourself.
I cannot hear myself.
Right. Unfortunately, people can probably hear me, but you know, at least the Sixers got the win.
At least the Sixers got the win. We will get into all of that. If you're watching on YouTube, live or recorded, please subscribe. We need to get to 11,000 subscribers by the end of the playoffs or CJ gets fired. So hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications. I did mention Stateside Urban Craft Vodka. Oh, they're just the best. I'm looking forward to tomorrow night because I only drink when I don't have work the next day. So tomorrow night I will be able to have a Surfside iced tea and vodka. I'd love to settle in with one of those during the spring and summer. I will admit, though, my favorite is just the straight up. Now that I've gotten old, I just drink straight alcohol. No ice, no water, no soda. I just drink the straight Stateside vodka. Go to statesidevodka.com. You have to be 21 to drink it. Without any further ado, Amos and the chef.
Larry, sweetie, the man is here. Say the name. I say the name. I say the name. We were right, y'all. We were right. Even when it went wrong, we were right. We was right, y'all. We were right. So say the name. Say the name. We were right, y'all. We were right. Even when it went wrong, we were right. We were right, y'all. We were right. So say the name. 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 I say the name. I say the name. Say the name.
Life's tricky Sanchez forever.
Welcome to the Rights Ricky Sanchez podcast. I'm Spike Eskin, along with a guy that is podcasting in one hand, holding Howie Roseman's junk in the other.
Okay.
That is one Elliot Shore Parks. Thanks for sitting in for Mike, Elliot.
I'm just happy to have a place to be able to talk about the Sixers is really all I can say. You know, I mean, Eagles all the time, Jalen Hurts, Howie Roseman, who cares? I'm excited to finally get some Sixers takes off my chest.
What a game. So I texted Elliot just before the game ended about how this is both an impossible game to do a podcast after and a glorious game to do a podcast after. On one hand, the glorious part, there are so many nooks and crannies to this game, right? There's the Embiid kick. There's Embiid looked like dog shit. There's the Harden ejection. There's the overall malaise. It was terrible. There's Maxey fucking bringing him back. There's all of these there's the Embiid block. There's the PJ Tucker rebounds and the fucking missed free throw. There's so many things.
Mm-hmm.
But then on the other hand, I want to be furious at them because it was a fucking terrible game by Embiid. Like a loser effort from Embiid. Just I don't want any part of this. This is too much for me. I'm going to pretend I'm hurt every time I fall down. Game from Embiid. A sort of a disengaged, weird game from Harden. I want to be mad at them. I also want to be joyous because they won it. I don't know how to feel.
Yeah, so this brings me no joy to say it this way, right? Because I came into this Sixers season, as a Joel skeptic. I was like, you'll never win with them. You don't win with centers. He won me over this year. He was MVP. I've defended this dude in your old workplace, WIP. Like, I am the pro Embiid guy at the station, right? But let's just call it what it is. Tonight was a complete bullshit effort from him. He was absolutely everything that everyone hates about him. He looked disinterested from the jump. He was lucky he didn't get kicked out of the game. He honestly might as well have, because look, he had the block at the end. I think he only had 5 points in the second half, but he was almost detrimental to them tonight. Look, I'm an emotional guy, so I am never going to be one to say to somebody, be better at getting out of your mood, because my wife will tell you I'm bad at that. But he pouted the entire game. So to your point, there are other takeaways. They won the game, which is impressive. Like Maxey, I would definitely want to get into him. But I would be being dishonest if I said my biggest takeaway from tonight wasn't that was the Joel that I'm always afraid of seeing. That was game 5 and 6 versus Miami Joel. That was the guy no one believes in. And it was just super discouraging to have it the day I'm on this pod, but just to see it in this spot.
Yeah, I agree. And I thought it started, they almost threw him a lifeline. And we'll do this. We'll do more of this later. I promise we're not going to spend the first 25 of the minutes of the podcast obliterating Embiid. We'll do that later. But I almost thought when he kicked at Claxton and should have been kicked out of the game, for all intents and purposes, he really just got lucky he missed him. But basically is what happened.
By that much, he should have been kicked out.
He should have been kicked out. So there's two ways the game can go after that. The one way that Embiid could take that is, I just got saved. I'm going to go out here and have the game of my life because I got saved. I'm not going to waste this one. But the way that he allowed, to your point about it's everything that people fear about Embiid being Sixers fans, not the people who are playing against him, is he allowed the emotion of it to take hold of him, and the fact that things were hard. And I will admit, for him, the Nets have made this series miserable for him, especially a season where it looked like, I'm not saying things were easy for him, but he mastered the game offensively in a way that he had never before, and in a way that he and Harden made everything look easy, and Embiid's offense made everything look easy. And against the Nets, the way that they're playing him, everything's hard. You're probably not going to be able to score a lot of points. And I know why he got frustrated. But if you are going to be a player that leads your team to the finals, if you're going to be MVP, if you're going to shoo away all of those bad things that everybody said about you, when you don't get kicked out of the game there, you have to choose the path where you come in and dominate, not where you fall down 75 times and grab at this and grab at that, and I can't get up here and I can't get up there. It's like it was just and effort wise, it was just bad. He moped and whined and was just not good, and they're lucky to win it. And I'm hoping against hope that this is just an aberration. There was something else, like he's having a bad day. He snapped. We all have bad days. I'm hoping it's a bad day and not just a sign of things to come, because we got a voicemail, and it was pretty much like, oh my God, here, not just about him, just about the entire team. Like, this is everything that is bad about the Sixers. This is what I remember. I hope it was just an aberration. They came out of it with a win. Luckily, they have a guy in Maxey who could rescue them and basically won the game single-handedly. It was Maxey scoring at the end of the game, a couple of tough PJ Tucker rebounds, and that's really what won them the game. And they're playing like maybe the worst team in the playoffs this year.
Yeah. Certainly in terms of having, I know Mikal Bridges puts up numbers, but I don't think they have anybody that strikes fear into you. No. And tonight was a perfect example of that. That game was there to be taken. The Nets couldn't win it. So I understand what you're saying about, we don't want to spend the first 20 minutes ripping Joel. Like, as a fan, I'm happy they won tonight.
Especially after a win. Especially after a win.
I'm happy they won tonight. And I heard you say something on the last pod that I think is so true. Teams lose in the first round all the time and still win the title. Like, not every team that wins a title goes 4-0, right? So it's okay to lose a game. But to what you're saying about, wanting to talk about the win before Joel, like, Joel's the story tonight, because this series is not about beating the Nets. This series is about how are we going to feel going into Boston. And I think people are lying to themselves if it didn't strike the fear of God into you tonight, seeing Joel act like that, because it's not an aberration. He's done this before. We've seen it all. Like, I don't want to say all the time, but we've seen it in the series that they lose. And that's the frustrating part to me. And like, I know you said that you got a voicemail. It sounds like it was fairly early on in the game. I don't blame the guy, because 2 minutes into the game, forget the kick. Joel, when he plays like this, you can just see it in his face, flat out. It's not even really in the way he plays, although he certainly exhibits like some not great effort at times in games like this. But ultimately, you can just see it in his face. He shows no emotion. They pan to him. He's just kind of staring into space. He thought he was going to get ejected. He was still just kind of staring out. So it's just disappointing. It's just, he should be MVP. They've won me over this year. I do believe in them more than it's coming across. It really sucks to watch him play like this.
Here's the voicemail. 833 Lickface is the voicemail number. Oh, motherfucker. You should have known this was coming. Well, if you fucked up the headphones, I, as usual, fuck up connecting.
I was going to say, the technology duo right now, not great. Don't ask me to crop a photo and we'll be fine.
Yeah, the worst photo cropper in America here.
Hey guys, this is Ben. I'm watching this game right now, and it's just a repeat of every single postseason, particularly with Embiid. It's insane. I just watched him with 15 seconds left on the clock, the shot clock that is, standing at the top of the key while Harden is dribbling and going nowhere. Embiid looks lifeless out there, and it's this way every year. I mean, he looks like he's cooked. The MVP is a regular season award, but you know what's not a regular season award? A for effort in the playoffs. Good grief.
That's also not an award, but that's the. So anyway, we will we'll circle. So what do you think? Actually,
well,
I
let
don't
me say
want
one
to
thing off the voicemail. Let me say one thing off the voicemail. I think what frustrates me the most about tonight, and probably what frustrates Embiid's fans the most, is that it gives people that don't believe in Embiid an excuse to say that. Right? Like an excuse to be like, here we go again. This is who he is. After all year, it's been proven that's not who he is. He's been so much better. He was so much better in the first 2 games. And I think that's what gets me so worked up about it. And that's what probably gets Sixers fans so frustrated, is because that's not who he is anymore. And then to do it tonight just gives his critics so much fuel to kind of throw at him.
I agree. Well, and part of it is when we like grandstand for him so much that it feels like when he doesn't play well, it's a personal affront to sort of what we've done. Do you know what I mean?
It's just frustrating because it's not like he went, 7 for 21 or something. It just looked like he didn't try. And that's the worst part about it.
Well, yeah, it sort of felt like he wanted no part of what they were going to do. There was a quote from before the game from Jacques Vaughn about that they were going to hit him, hit the Sixers, we're going to hit him and hit him and hit him. He was talking about rebounding, but he was really talking about being physical. And when Claxton dunked that ball and stepped over him, I really think the entirety of the series so far got to him. He snapped and he couldn't snap himself out of it. Like, have you ever been in you're a married guy, have you ever been in a fight with your significant other and you're arguing and it's time for it to be over, but you cannot snap out of the mad? And it almost felt like he snapped and he couldn't snap out of it. Like he just couldn't get himself out of it. He couldn't talk himself out of it.
And I can perfectly relate to that. Like I 100% get in those moods where my wife is like, Elliot, just stop. Like, we know you're upset. Stop pretending like you're not. We know you're upset. Just get over it. Right. But let me ask you this, like, is that an excuse? I mean, we're not talking about Tyrese Maxey. This isn't his 3rd year. What year is this? Eight or 9?
Oh, no, it just is. I'm not saying it's an excuse or it is an excuse. I'm just saying it is.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree.
It's just, it's what happened. I think my question now, like the question for Embiid now, to put a bow on this, is, and by the way, and I know the recorded people don't listen to this, and I can't believe I'm responding to it. Everyone who's in the chat, stop being a fucking baby. Like, stop being a baby. Stop being a baby. I'm sorry we're talking bad about Embiid. He had a bad game. They won. Everything will be okay, but you got to stop being a fucking baby about it. Like, if you're going to comment on the internet, you should have to log in with your driver's license that says you're over 18 and you've passed some skill test that means that you're not going to be a baby. Here's the chat right now.
I'm not looking in the chat on purpose, but
you shouldn't look at the chat.
No. I mean, dude, like, we can't turn Embiid.
So here's the question. I don't know how to make it stop. There we go. The question is, for Embiid, from this point forward, is, all right, you had one of these games. You had a moment where you failed and your teammates picked you up. You have a guy like Maxey who came in, like, and by the way, Harden paid the price of your kick. Because the reason that Harden got thrown out, we will talk about that in a bit. The reason that Harden got thrown out is because you didn't get thrown out. So Harden got thrown out because you didn't. Tyrese Maxey came back and won the game for everyone. You had a big block at the end. You go to sleep. You wake up. You play again on Saturday. And who are you? Are you a guy who lets this be? Are you have a fork ahead of you in the road? If you're Joel Embiid, you have played a season like you've never played before. You've been resilient like you've never been before. The team has been resilient like it's never been before. You have the best team that you have ever had around you, and here is your chance. And you failed in one game, and you were lucky enough to have teammates to pick you up. And the question is for Joel Embiid in Game 4 is, what are you made of? What are you made of? Because it's only going to get harder from here. These are the fucking Nets. These are the Nets. That you think this kind of shit that you have to deal with here is going to get any easier against the Celtics? It's not going to get any easier against the Celtics. And if you happen to get past the Celtics and face the Bucks, it's going to get even harder because Brook Lopez is waiting for you. Mm-hmm. And the question for Embiid is, what are you made of? And what are you made of? And we all have moments where we slip into the worst version of ourselves. And that's what happened to Embiid tonight. And he will have a chance on Saturday to show what he's made of. And then he'll have a chance against Boston to show what he's made of. But it's up to him now, you know?
Yeah. And to your point, Boston will watch this and go, well, if we just poke at him a bunch at the beginning of the game, you know, we can get to him. And, you know, put a bow on it. Embiid's awesome, man. I think he's the best athlete in the city. I truly bought in this year. He's been unbelievable. I am all in on Embiid. And so if I'm coming across as negative, it's not to be a hater. It's not because I once said I would rather have Noah Vonleh. It's simply because I believe in the guy now. And so it sucks to see that to me.
The Rights to Ricky Sanchez podcast is brought to you by Big Barker Therapeutic Dog Beds. Elliot's a dog guy now, right? What's your name? Your dog's name again?
Kingsley. And I'm looking at his Big Barker bed right now as we record.
Oh, Kingsley has a Big Barker. Did I send him the Big Barker?
You got it for me. So I guess it was a far more meaningful moment for me early on in my employment than it was for you.
No. I remember. Yeah. Big Rebel, of course, sleeps on a Big Barker. There's two kinds of beds out there for dogs, real ones and fake ones. The fake ones is everything but a Big Barker. The real ones are the Big Barker. They're real mattresses, not just puffy pillows that look nice in an Instagram ad. Big Barker, engineered by experts to support your dog's joints. It's not bullshit. And I'll tell you, even though it was engineered by experts, even though it was proven in a Penn Vet study to keep your dog healthier, keep the joints feeling good, even though that all of that is true, the Big Barker passes the eye test. Like, you can see just by looking at a Big Barker compared to another dog bed that a Big Barker is supportive. When your dog lays on the Big Barker, it doesn't sink all the way to the ground. It's supportive, just like the mattress you sleep on. Go to bigbarker.com/Ricky. Bigbarker.com/Ricky. Get your dog to be a Process Pup. If you go to /Ricky, you get the Process Pup patches. Very easy to iron on. Even if you're not good in the house like me, not great at that stuff, but an iron-on patch, very, very simple. The other one, do whatever you want with it. Put it on a pair of jeans. Put it on your backpack. Put it on your denim jacket. Bigbarker.com/Ricky. Now, originally designed for big dogs because big dogs suffer from arthritis more than smaller dogs do, but all dogs need the support of a Big Barker, so they have them in all sizes, from the Barker Jr. to the XL size Big Barker, with the headrest, without the headrest. All sorts of colors. Looks great in the home. Looks high class. A 10-year warranty. The foam doesn't flatten or they replace it for free. 1 year at-home trial. If you try it for a full year, you don't like it, your dog doesn't like it, they give you a full refund and they pay for the shipping. Handmade in the USA. Big Barker dog beds. You got to woof. There you go.
All right. I don't know how I did with that, but it's okay.
This game, Tyrese Maxey had the weirdest season to me, because when you look at the stats, he scored over 20 points a game. And it doesn't, when you think about the season, it doesn't seem like a 20 points a game season for Tyrese Maxey. But man, when they need an infusion of offense, and it happened in game 2 and it happened at the end of game 3, because even earlier in the game when Harden was in it, it felt like a Maxey game more than a Harden game. Like, Maxey had the ball in half court more than Harden did. And it just sort of, for a player as young as he is, for him to sort of sense at the end of the game, I've got to do this, and then go and do it, and basically laugh in the Nets' face after he hit that 3, just sort of the game winner 3. It was incredibly impressive. And he is, like, look, luckily in year 3 of his career, he doesn't have to carry the offense. He doesn't have to carry the team, but he has gotten to the point in his career where he can carry them for spurts. And when they need him, he's there. And I mentioned it earlier tonight. and we've talked about his shooting progression in previous podcasts. I'm not sure that I've ever seen a player's one skill increase at the rate that Maxey's has, like that Maxey for shooting has had in the first 3 years of his career. When he got here, he looked like he didn't have 3-point range. We were hoping one day he could be a 34-35% 3-point shooter. And now on a team with great, with George Niang, who's a great 3-point shooter, James Harden, who's a great 3-point shooter, the guy that you want shooting threes in crucial times is Maxey. It's fucking wild, man. It was an outrageous moment for him tonight.
Yeah, so you said you can't think of an athlete that's done it. And you're right, it's hard to think of many at all. But I'll tell you one, and this will be my only football reference of the pod. He reminds me of Jalen Hurts. And I'm not just saying that because it's convenient right now. When you think of Jalen was not supposed to improve as a passer. Maxey improving to the shooter is incredibly impressive. But what I think you saw tonight out of Tyrese that reminded me of Jalen is Tyrese is not afraid of the moment. I've covered Sixers home games, and when that crowd gets going behind him and the crowd's into it and he can sense that, he steps up and he is not afraid of the moment, right? And tonight, just what you said, he wasn't again either. He sensed it was his time and he stepped up and he took over. And there's been times in his career where I've said he's too small. He reminds me of Lou Williams. He's not going to be like the guy on the perimeter. And all he does is prove me wrong every single time, because he did it again tonight. I didn't think he had it in him in that moment. Now, the Nets aren't the Celtics. Let's not act like this was, the conference finals. But he did, to your point, I think it shows an incredible amount of maturity that he said, you know what, I have to step up and do it. And he did it.
You said you compared him to Lou Williams. He's better than Lou Williams. Let's not forget, Lou Williams has had games that were real fucking heaters. I mean, Lou Williams is one of the best six men of all time. Lou Williams, at the Wells Fargo Center, I saw Lou Williams hit a 3 to beat the Heatles on Easter, that when nobody else wanted the ball, it was Lou Williams that did it. So what Tyrese Maxey ends up being, I don't know, but I do know as a player, I still can't quite place him in terms of like what kind of player he is. I feel like people mention Kyle Lowry all the time. He's nothing like Kyle Lowry.
Yeah, he's way more athletic than Kyle Lowry.
And he's a way better scorer, and he's not nearly just sort of like the floor general type guy that Kyle Lowry was. Now, I don't know where Lowry was in year 3. I still don't know what kind of player Maxey is, but I do know that on this team right now, he's like necessary. You know what I mean? They need a player like him.
100%. You saw that tonight. Now, I will say Harden was starting to pick up when he got kicked out. So who knows, maybe this pod's different if he doesn't. But just to be clear, I wasn't saying Lou Williams as an insult. To me, Lou Williams he has in him is like when he gets going, he will shoot, and he goes on those streaks where he has supreme confidence in himself. He will score you like 17 points in a quarter, and he will just have the confidence to do it. That's the part of Lou Williams that reminds me of that just swagger of, okay, I'm about to take over and score a bunch, even if maybe I'm not the guy that should, because Joel's on the team, Harden's on the team, but he steps up and does it. But you're right. He's an incredibly necessary player, because especially on nights like tonight with Joel, they needed someone just to say, look, guys, I know the vibe is terrible right now, but I'm just going to go do it. And I think that, the past 2 playoff series, they didn't have that guy because he wasn't that guy yet. And to have him now, I mean, they're up 3-0 because of it.
Yeah, it was, and I do want to give Embiid credit for that block, by the way.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah, it was a great block at a crucial time, and boy, it saved the game from being a complete zero for him. Before we talk about Harden and his play, which is sort of confounding, and we will get to the Houston rumors later after we talk about the game. We have to talk about the Houston rumors again. I don't even know that there's that much to say about it, but we do have to talk about it. That call, I'm not a ref guy. I am 100% not a ref guy. Calling that a flagrant at all, a flagrant 1 is a stretch for that Harden call. Calling that a flagrant 2 and throwing him out for it, essentially the same thing. Remember, if we're ranking these things, and I was in favor of them throwing Draymond out and in favor of them suspending Draymond. I thought it was the right thing to do. But when you're looking at them, that meant that what Harden did was the same as Draymond and worse than Embiid. It is the craziest call I've ever seen in the NBA. I don't think I've seen a crazier call in the NBA than that call.
I was legitimately stunned when I'm watching TV and you hear ejected, and I was like, what do you mean ejected? Like that was like I was debating if it was even a foul, to be honest. When you watch the replay, it probably is a foul, I guess, but it certainly isn't ejection worthy. And for the whole, making up for the Embiid thing, I don't think that's right either. Like they decided to keep Embiid in that game. They shouldn't have. He should have been kicked out. But once you make that decision, it is not fair then later to kick Harden out because of something, a mistake you made earlier in the game. Harden should not have been kicked out. It's like point blank period. I mean, you saw it on his face when he did it. Again, I'm not a big ref guy. The refs, I think the Nets got called for one foul in the second half. So I feel like I had to say that, just based off Twitter. People seem pretty upset about that. But the Harden thing was absolutely ridiculous. He should not have been kicked out. It's not fair. He was getting ready to have a good second half, and they robbed him of that. And
getting ready to have a second Harden
guy. He was heating up. What do you have, like 7 points in the third or something before he got kicked out?
The thing about them not shooting a free throw in the second half until the PJ Tucker free throws, I think those were the first ones, until toward the end, nobody was attacking. I mean, you could make an argument that the refs missed a call or one or two calls, but when you don't shoot any free throws in a half, and this is sort of like the Harden thing about him not shooting any free throws for 3 straight playoff games. You can talk about a call here and there, but when it's 0, it's a trend. And that the second half free throw thing really just comes down to Harden and Embiid. And that was, I think it was a function of Embiid and a function of Harden as well. And if Harden, it's going to be really hard for Harden to get those calls if he's not finishing at the rim ever. Like if he's not leaving the ground and he's just doing the thing where he puts his hands up as he lays it up and runs straight, it's going to be hard for him to get calls. Were those 2 that he shot at the beginning of the game the only 2 free throws he shot?
I think the ones on the first possession or in that first minute or whatever. I believe so. I mean, he got kicked out at a few minutes ago in the third. So yeah, I would have to check. I don't remember if he shot anymore. The weird thing about Harden is, well, let's stick on the fouls for a second. I agree with you that there were missed calls, and the only, the Sixers being called for more fouls in the second half, like it gives the ref people fodder. So it is what it is. But when your best player is basically displaying no effort, in terms of trying to get down low and just hanging out by the 3-point line, you're not going to shoot a lot of free throws. Harden's gone. Embiid's chilling by the 3-point line. Maxey just isn't going to get those calls. So I agree there were probably missed calls, but the Sixers cannot look at this game and go, the refs, kept the Nets in it or anything like that. The Sixers have nobody to blame but themselves for this. They came out terribly. They played with poor effort. They won the game because they're way better. But the refs, outside of obviously the egregious Harden thing, I didn't think they, screwed the Sixers over time and time again. I thought
Melton had probably his best game of the series. Yeah. It felt like he only hit a couple of threes, but it felt like when he was shooting it, he was feeling it a little bit. He made a couple of big defensive plays too. I thought it was a really good game for Melton, and they needed it from him tonight, especially with Harden going out with, it was an important game for him. I actually thought there was a chance we could see Shake Melton for 3 minutes or something like that, but we didn't. It was a really good game and necessary game for Melton, who has
that dunk. The dunk was sick that he had. Your boy PJ, I thought really, I haven't seen the final stats, but lots of hustle plays, lots of I'm the guy trying on the team play. So that was encouraging to see.
But he is the guy trying on the team.
He is absolutely.
Yeah. He's PJ Tucker is an amazing combination of the guy who is making everyone notice that he's trying hard, but he is actually trying hard. So PJ had 8 rebounds, 3 were offensive, 4 assists, 1 block. But it was the offensive rebounds. It's amazing how many PJ offensive rebounds seem to turn into threes, and how many times he has more than 1 offensive rebound on a possession. It seems like he has not hit a 3 in the last two games. He's missed every 3 he's taken.
No big deal.
But I would say even that said, PJ Tucker has been everything he was supposed to be in the playoffs so far during the playoffs. He's supposed to be.
They didn't sign PJ for Tuesday night in Charlotte, right? Like they signed him for this. They signed him for these playoff moments. When they signed him, I thought the whole thing about he's going to add that dog to the team and he's going to make them tougher. I think ultimately you are what you are with your leadership, and Embiid and Harden are always going to dictate who this team is. But tonight, like, it did show. I mean, in that second half, I would be interested to see how many rebounds he got in the second half, but it felt like he was part of them coming back in just terms of hustling, getting rebounds. Yeah, I thought he earned his money tonight, which didn't feel like in the regular season, but that's not why they paid him. So I think tonight he was definitely worth the money.
The one good point that Mike would make is I would say he's not here for the regular season. He's here for the playoffs. And he would say, well, then why is he playing 38 minutes with a nerve damage in his hand in these games? Yes. It's because he likes playing. He's a dog.
Yeah. Hey, what's Doc call it? Exercise? He needs to exercise to get ready for the playoffs.
Briggs Auction is the official auction of the process. On Saturday, you should stop by Briggs Auction. Maybe adopt a dog like Elliot over there did. Yeah. Providence Animal Center is going to be at Briggs Auction on Saturday. They have an Earth Day pickup event. So if you've won anything in a Briggs Auction over the last several weeks and you want to pick it up, go pick it up Saturday. They have open pickup on Saturdays, but the Earth Day pickup event is Saturday. They'll have live music. They're going to give some stuff away. There's going to be food. You can adopt a dog from Providence Animal Center. They're going to have some plants. If you won something in the patio auction, maybe a planter or something. 90 years that Briggs Auction has been around, and they're celebrating that on Saturday with the Earth Day pickup event. And there's still the Find a State auction going on, which stops on Friday. So you can check that out. I love Briggs Auction because I love online auctions. I just love them. I love stuff. I like looking at stuff. I like bidding on stuff. Download the Briggs Auction app or go to briggsauction.com. They have estate auctions, discovery auctions, collectibles. Steven from Briggs Auction told me he's going to do a vintage t-shirt auction because I love bidding on vintage t-shirts. There's something about winning an online auction that there's such a rush. Now, there is sometimes a little bit of regret right afterwards, but the rush of winning is way better, is way more important than the little bit of regret.
Well, let me tell you, recently I heard you say that I guess your wife wanted patio furniture, I think, and you just brought up planners. Me and my wife just bought a ton of stuff for the patio. I wish we would have gone to Briggs Auction. Like, it is insane how much that stuff costs. I had no idea when we walked in the store. So I will be checking Briggs Auction in the future.
They had a whole patio auction, Elliot. A whole patio.
It was a rookie move by me.
Yep. Furniture, collectibles, clothes, art, all that kind of stuff. briggsauction.com, or download the Briggs Auction app. If you win, you pick up by appointment, or Saturdays is open pickup, or they'll even work on a shipper with you. And if you want to auction off your own shit, send an email to info@briggsauction.com. Briggs Auction, the official auction of the process. You think they close it out on Saturday?
I do. I think this was the last chance the Nets really had. Again, I'm disappointed with how they came out tonight. I thought game two, I was able to write off game two as the series fell over after game one. We all knew the Nets weren't going to win, whatever. I was disappointed with the effort tonight, but I think on Saturday they come out and the Nets just have nothing left. And to your point, I do think Embiid comes out and plays better because I think he's a different guy this year. So I think they will come out and close it out on Saturday.
So there was the Harden-Houston rumors have been going on all season long. Mm-hmm. Woj was nice enough to report them on Christmas, right before the Sixers were about to play.
What a gift.
Yeah. And everyone has reported them, from, Woj to Zach Lowe to Sam Amick to everyone. Like, everyone surrounding the Sixers has heard them this year. And I think that they are legitimate. Like, I don't think that this is just smoke. So on the Woj pod, and this transcription comes from Kyle Neubeck, who I don't even know if you know, but
yeah, I've seen him a few times.
Yeah, Kyle transcribed the Woj pod as this. But Philly, right? There's going to be change there if they don't. There may be change if they go to the finals. James Harden's future is very unclear in Philadelphia. Houston is very much in play for him. And I think a lot may depend on whether they do make a run and win, and it's easy to pay him long-term big money, or if he just wants to be back in Houston and win or lose, he goes. It's dependent on the team's success, but it's going to look different. I guess I should have just played that cut because I don't really know what the tone is on that. I think the point he's trying to make is that win or lose, no matter how the Sixers play, that there is a chance that James Harden could go back to Houston. It is remarkable to me how little people seem to be bothered by this. Not that they should be, but it does seem like people are invested in this year. And if Harden ends up leaving, then he ends up leaving. Obviously, team building from that point becomes very difficult, but that's what Daryl Morey gets paid for, that and for going on this podcast. Those are 2 things he gets paid for. It's definitely a real thing that he could go back there. I know people will criticize him for it because they'll say he has less of a chance to win in Houston than he does in here. I do respect the idea that if he's comfortable as a human in Houston and he likes being down there, I get it. Mm-hmm. It's a real chance. I just don't think anybody's that bothered normally we would be, if a rumor like this came up for the Sixers' second best player and the best teammate that Embiid's ever had, I feel like 5 years ago, we would be talking about this constantly. It just feels like an afterthought.
Yeah. So as Daryl Morey's younger looking version of Daryl Morey, let me
you do. That's right.
Yeah, let me say what I think he would say, but I think he'd be right. Like, it would be a big deal if Harden left. I think people should be worked up about it because I do think he's going to leave. I think he's going to go to Houston. I think he's decided this. I think when you read all the reporting, they're not even really hiding how much he wants to go there. I don't know what the incentive is to have this leaked all the time. I can't figure that out.
Can I offer that to you? If I were trying to figure this out and read tea leaves, as I often do, I would say that this is getting leaked to make sure that Philly gives him all the money he wants, no matter what happens during this playoff run. That to worry them that this is real, and yes, we may lose to the Celtics, but if I leave, you're fucked. If I'm to play tea leaf guy, that would be the only reason that I think it would be leaked.
So the only thing I'll push back on that is I thought the whole thing was he's supposed to have a great relationship with Morey. So why would you play the public negotiation game where it seems like that's something that should be happening behind closed doors? So if you're right about that, and as someone that has consumed your content for a while, I do think you're good at reading the tea leaves. But then does that mean that the Sixers aren't that into re-signing him? Because the only reason to leak that is if negotiations aren't going well. Because if he's hearing, yeah, we're going to max you out, you've been great this year, and he has. He's been a top, 20 player in the league, top 15 at points. He's been really good. So unless they're just out on him and they're saying, no, we're not really going to pay you, I don't see how it benefits him to leak this unless he just really wants to go to Houston. And that's my read on it. Like, it sounds like from the Athletic reporting, when he left Houston, he was kind of saying, yeah, I'll be back. I think he's giving it a shot in Philly. I would be surprised if he's genuinely loving his life in Philly. I'm sure he would much rather be spending his time in Houston. And he's probably saying at this point, yeah, I'll go to Houston. I'll bring somebody with me. We'll have a lot of cap space and we'll see what happens.
I just think there's this world in between. There's NBA teams have played this thing where like they either have to give the player all of the money or the player leaves. Like it's a max contract or anything, and everybody's getting like the biggest deal possible. And I think if you're the Sixers and you're Morey, like, there should be a world where they don't have to give Harden every penny.
Well, let me ask you,
he doesn't deserve every penny.
But do you think he did that this year?
Well, but he took every penny. He just gave it to his friends.
Well, I'm saying, but didn't he take didn't he take a pay cut this year? Not to get into that debate, but to your point, he didn't sign a max extension. He didn't sign a 4-year deal.
But he didn't really take a pay cut because the money went to his friends. Like he owed PJ Tucker. He said he owed PJ Tucker. He told PJ Tucker when he was getting traded from Houston that PJ Tucker would go with him, and he didn't, and he owed him. And we've speculated that he owed Dan House because Dan House took the bullet for the sex
for the
in
bubble.
the bubble. Yeah. He owed those guys. So I actually don't think that. And I know I will get painted as like Harden hater. If I tell you, I don't even need a metaphor for this. If he says you don't have to pay me all of the money, but the money that I'm not going to take, you have to overpay my friends. Like that's him taking all of the money. It just
yes, but I think I would say even that aside, he did not take the full max whatever. Now his value wasn't as high. I'm talking about years at this.
But nobody was willing to offer it to him.
Well, but that's what I'm saying about this. Do you think the Sixers, or he's being told how, like whether it's Morey, whoever, that we are not giving you the full max? Like we're not doing it, and that's why he's painting this picture that he might go to Houston. Because if they're saying they'll pay him, what's the point of leaking it? unless he really just wants to go.
Well, I think they have to, whether Morty has a good relationship with Harden or not, they have to be smart. He's the steward of the franchise. Like you can't just give a guy 5 years and $270 million because he was good 8 years ago. Do you know what I mean? Like
he was good this year.
He was good, but he's not a $50 or $60 million player. He's not. He's not. Have you watched these games?
Yeah, he's not. This year, I mean, to be fair, though, he probably should have been an all-star this year. He led the league in assists. He helped get the best version of Joel out. I'm not saying like 60 million. I agree. That sounds ridiculous. He's old, but I think you're underselling how good he's been.
Have you watched the three? We'll revisit this at the end of the playoffs. I'm not underselling how good he's been. He's been good, but once again, we're here in the playoffs, and once again, there's a soft tissue injury that people are whispering about. That he's 34. He's not getting any better. He's not even staying as good. He will be a little bit worse every year.
But I think his value is much higher now than it was last year. Is the point I'm making? Last year, I don't think he was getting a max deal. This offseason, I think someone would give it to him.
From who?
Well, it sounds like Houston, number one.
Okay, Houston, but that's it.
Right. So you don't think, again, we'll see in the playoffs, right? I agree. What he does against Boston matters, but I just think he's been really, really good this year. You're saying good, and this is something I do as like a negotiate. Like he's been better than good. He's been very good this year.
He's not been the sort of player that you have to give all of the money that you could possibly give a player to.
Has he been their second best player?
Yes, but their third best player is Tobias Harris or something or Tyrese Maxey, who's in his third year.
When they got Harden, you were hoping he would make threes at a high clip, right? Score when he needs to, and distribute the ball. This year, he led the league in assists. He hit almost 40% of his threes at a high clip. And, there were certainly times where it didn't look like he was comfortable getting to the rim, but he was a good scorer this year at points. I think he checked a lot of the boxes you wanted this year when you traded for him, and he has to do it in the playoffs. He was not good tonight in this Nets game. Shouldn't have been kicked out, but was not good.
He wasn't good in game 2, and he got lucky that
he was good in game 1. He was good in game 1.
No, he wasn't.
Dude,
he hit a bunch of threes.
What would you call that? He had 27 points.
He was 1 for 8 at the rim.
That overshadows all the negative he did. All the positive.
Are you going to bank on him going 7 for 12 from 3 a lot?
We're not debating for the future. I'm saying in game 1, he was good.
He was fine.
Fine. He had 27 points. I have to have stats in front of me. I'm sure his assists were good.
You think James Harden is worth a 5-year max contract?
I think.
Do you think James Harden?
I do not think James Harden is worth a 5-year max. But I think the Sixers are in a position where they have to seriously consider giving it to him, because if they lose him, unless they can replace him with Lillard, they are taking a step back next year, and they can't replace that money.
They'll have to figure it out. But it doesn't matter if you're taking a step back if the place that you're stepping from is not a championship place anyway. They have to figure out whether maybe you have to take a step back for a year, and maybe you have to get Toby off the team. And I don't know. Who
do you think's closer to worth their max value, Harden or Maxey?
Who do I think is being their 1 year are different. Their maxes will be different. Like Harden,
I know they are, but I'm saying even with that, do you think Maxey's a $40 million a year player?
I would rather give Maxey $40 million a year than.
But you think he's worth $40 million a year?
No.
Okay, so Harden might not be, but you have to pay these guys sometimes because it is what it is. They were the third best team in the NBA.
That's how you end up paying Bradley Beal and Russell Westbrook, and you don't. You actually don't. If he wants to leave for Houston, if they're going to give him a 5-year max, then let them do it. Everybody will be laughing at them for 3 of those 5 years.
I agree, but the Sixers window to win, I don't know. I view them as maybe more serious title contenders than you do, but I think they are right there with Boston and Milwaukee. Now tonight, not an encouraging night, but I think they could win a title with this team. And so to let Harden walk to Houston, I think it would be a big blow to this team.
Who's paying you?
Well, Howie, apparently. So,
do you want to? All right. So we got a bunch of voicemails and emails. I don't know whether to do them or not, because if we sweep, we're going to need these for our midweek episode. CJ, what do you think? Do you think we do some emails and voicemails here? Or?
Yeah, we'll have more.
Okay.
I love the flex by CJ. We'll have more.
Yeah, well, he's the producer.
He kept his job at this point. He can just stun on everybody.
Right, Tyrese Sanchez at gmail.com. This came from Eric. As painful as the Mikal Bridges saga is for us, it's worth noting that Hinkie would have 100% taken Michael Porter Jr., who sucks. Porter was going to be the top pick before his injury, was number 1 on my big board, by the way. And everyone said he had Kevin Durant potential. Drafting him at 12 is a Hinkie pick all the way. So even if we had gotten what we wanted, we would still have not gotten what we wanted, which is the Sixers way. It's an interesting point. He probably would have taken Michael Porter Jr. I don't think Michael Porter Jr. sucks, though.
Well, he's hurt a lot, which has certainly impacted it. I will say, as someone that consumes only one Sixers pod, but a lot of different pods, your voicemails and emails are unmatched in terms of other things. Like, just funny, good points. So I'm looking forward to hearing some more of these.
Voicemail 833 Lickface.
Mikey, Spikey, CG. I wanted to talk about potential mic ban looming here. If the Sixers sweep, if they take game 4, if they keep winning, at what point do we say, Mike, you don't come back? We don't need you. You stay away. Maybe stay away until a Sixer loss, potential. Non-basketball. Can we talk about mouth tape? I've been doing mouth tape at night for the past, 2 months. Game changer. Breathing better, living better, more energy. Mouth tape.
All right. First of all, the mic ban has to be discussed, as the Sixers have not swept anyone during the process. If they sweep the Nets, I think we may have to discuss a mic ban.
So I feel like a ban implies that the person wants to come back. I feel like Mike, if given this information, from what I've learned from on the pod, would probably accept not coming back if it means they beat the Celtics.
Yeah. As far as mouth tape, I was actually, as weird as it is, was discussing with BetQL's Trista Crick mouth tape, because I keep getting.
So what is this?
So I keep getting this Instagram ad for hostage tape. And it is tape that you put over your mouth, because if there's a book on breathing, but one of the most important things about breathing and sleeping is breathing through your nose while you sleep. Mm-hmm. And most people are used to breathing through your mouth. And if you don't breathe through your nose, you don't really sleep well. And this tape is supposed to keep your mouth shut so you breathe through your nose and breathe properly. And
what if you can't breathe? Like, what if you're congested? I'm curious. Like, is it?
Well, I wouldn't do it when you're congested.
Seems like a risky proposition is all I'm saying. Like, tape your mouth shut before you sleep.
There's probably a warning on there about don't do it if you're congested.
Or if you get congested in the night. I don't know. I want you to be safe. I would be cautious with this.
Yeah. I'm not going to do it because I'm a mouth breather, but I don't know. This guy seems to love. I didn't think not washing my hair would be such a game changer, and it has been. So maybe mouth tape.
Dude, let me tell you. I wash my hair probably 3 times a day.
Oh, that's wrong.
I'm just letting you know. Well, I have great hair, so I don't think it is wrong. And I guarantee I'll never go bald.
What does that have to do with the shampoo? Well, you're the weirdest
You're saying
person.
It's bad for your hair. What else is going to make your hair
No. Here's what the truth is that until like the 70s, all this shampooing every day didn't even exist, because it was a marketing ploy, because they told everybody their hair was dirty. Here's the process. Your hair produces natural oil. You use shampoo, which strips your hair of the natural oil. And then you get conditioner, which puts a fake version of the natural oil in your hair, which you then wash out with shampoo so you can start it all over again.
So I don't use conditioner.
Your hair simply doesn't need
it?
Shampoo. There's certainly not every day.
I use a lot of hairspray, man. I don't know.
No, you just use water. Just use some water.
Maybe I'll try it for a day.
I originally went to once a week. Then I went to once every 2 weeks. I can't remember the last time I put shampoo in my hair.
What a savage.
This
from guy's my boss right here.
This is from Andrew from Oxford. CJ, Andrew from Oxford is the Spike guy from Live Ricky 5. He says, in defense of myself, he performed very poorly. In defense of myself, apparently I stopped paying attention to the number of LL engagement rings when y'all stopped questioning how many of them were actually real. I will not, however, defend or make excuses for my performance because it was admittedly pretty putrid. Sincerely, Andrew from Oxford, who is questioning whether or not he's still a Spike guy. I felt really horrible after reading this. He had emailed in support of me and my protein intake earlier, so I apologize to him, and he is a Spike guy.
And if you're sitting here and you're thinking, what is this? What are they talking about? Go watch Live Breaking 5.
Yes.
It's on YouTube.
Yes.
It was a great watch. I did watch it. It was the production was unbelievable. I'll say this about being a Spike guy. It's interesting. In my view, like everybody's a Spike guy. So it's always funny to hear you say that people like don't like you or whatever. I see a high Spike Q rating when I check Twitter or talk to people.
I feel like, look, there must be a lot of Spike guys, or the podcast wouldn't exist. There's not a lot of people that like admitting being Spike guys. I feel like they don't wear it on their chest.
Something I can maybe relate to in terms of how people discuss you on Twitter versus maybe what I like to think is reality. So, but after ripping Embiid for 20 minutes, I probably did myself no favors. So
we got So we got this voicemail in CJ. Can I pay? We had a few reactions to the Ben Simmons rant. So we got this call last week.
Spike, listen, you got to leave Ben Simmons alone. The best revenge is living well. You were right. Congratulations. We got to watch a once promising young athlete's mental health decline over the course of 5 years. Let it go. He's not on the team anymore. He doesn't want to play basketball. And you have a successful podcast.
Okay. All right. It's actually triggering me listening to it. We got a lot of response to this. A lot of response to my. So here we go. 833 Lickface is the phone number.
Hey, Spike, asking my sweet boy. This is Don Keaton from Merrick, New York. I want to tell you something. You've been told to stop talking about Ben Simmons. Don't you ever stop talking about Ben Simmons, because you're doing God's work, Spike. I want to remind you of something. For 2 to 3 years, we were being gaslit by the likes of your podcast partner, Michael Levin, and everybody else, because we saw a starting point guard who had the ball in his hands for 40 minutes, who wouldn't shoot, who wouldn't go to the basket, and who treated the ball like a hot potato in a playoff game. And we were told that we were going too far. We were told that the truth lies somewhere in the middle. And when we asked, what does our starting point guard do well, we kept being told he plays good defense. But I'll tell you what, Spike Eskin, we actually didn't go far enough, because we were saying all this before the Atlanta Hawks series. And then he had the most colossal meltdown in the history of meltdowns that even we didn't see coming. And after the fact, all of a sudden, all the gaslighters, all the Mike Levins of the world who were playing the middle and telling us we were going too far, they started to come around to our side. But then they didn't apologize for what they tried to do to us. They saw that happening with the meltdown, and they were as silent as a fart in church. And now they're trying to act like this didn't happen. Spike Eskin, don't you ever stop talking about this.
Well,
we got this
playing
one.
another one.
Okay. Oh, yeah, we got a lot of them.
Spike, Mike, and CJ, how we doing? Happy Wednesday. It's 2 days later. Still thinking about that nameless dickhead who was defending Ben. Kind of seems like one of those like elementary school things where one kid is like just getting shit on by everybody for this one weird thing he did, and then another kid who very obviously also did that one weird thing kind of steps in with the, hey guys, you know, we've all taken a glance in the women's locker room before, you know, don't get on Danny about it. I support you all day, Spike. You're my king. Fuck Ben Simmons. Defended that motherfucker at bars against drunk kids so many times. Painful. Pain.
Then we got this one.
Hey, Spike and Mike, this is Jack here. Just wanted to respond to Mr. No Name. Just from a perspective of someone.
Elliot, just so you know, at the end of that voicemail, the original one, the guy's like, you don't need to know my name.
Oh, so trust me, I have
been Simmons for years and thought Spike was always wrong. Spike was right. That's just what it was. Ben's, just he can keep on talking about it, man. And I never bought the mental health stuff with Ben, not at least at the beginning. I can see now with how everything's turned out and his bad decisions, probably at the advice of Clutch, that he's probably it probably is pretty rough for him now, but not at the beginning. That was just a fucking excuse. And so I just want to say, Spike, you're right. I was wrong for 5 years. So fucking trust the process. Thanks.
And then do I have one more? Oh, we have there's this one.
What's up, fellas? This is Ian, longtime listener, longtime caller. First off, fuck that no-name guy sticking up for Ben Simmons. What a dickhead. That's all. Love you, Spike. Once again, my name's Ian.
And then the final one.
So this is Tommy from Vegas, and I know the last pod we had that guy that said, "Hey, lay off Ben Simmons," and I felt like that too. But hearing Spike, Ben Simmons is a fucking bitch, man. He's a fucking bitch, and the neurotic part of me says, "Karma, don't harp on a guy when he's down." But fuck that dude. We could have had SGA. We could have had Tyrese Halliburton. I have this fear that James Harden is going to disappear again, and it's all related to that bitch ass Ben. Fuck that guy. Can't believe I ever liked him. He's so soft. Just fuck that guy.
So,
let me tell you.
Yeah.
That rant you went on, and when you ended it with, I literally wrote it down as a note for tonight. What does it have to take for me to stop talking about Ben? I have to die. Is just maybe my favorite piece of audio ever said on a podcast. Like your willingness to just be like, guess what, guys? I'm not going to fucking stop talking about him. I just respect it. It's so funny to me. It's amazing.
Well, it's my podcast.
Yes.
There's no one. And look, it's obviously Mike's podcast too. When I say my, I mean our. But like I have the fucking logins for everything.
Well, what I never get is, and I got a lot of this with Carson Wentz when he was on the downswing, right? It was, why are you talking about Carson all the time? First of all, he's one of the most important people in my life professionally, if you think about it, in terms of how many times I talked about this dude for years. To stop caring all of a sudden would be insane. And then when he went to, Indianapolis and Washington, people are like, why? It's like, why do you think, man? Like, I'm incredibly invested in this person. So I always think it's funny when people tell you not to talk about him. It's a big deal still.
Well, I mean, isn't that just like what we do?
Right.
To me, it would be weirder to not talk about him. Like to be the Ben, as crazy as the number of sagas we've had in Philadelphia sports over the last 20 years, and as crazy as the number of sagas that have happened with the Philadelphia 76ers over the last 10 years, and there's been a lot of them. The Ben Simmons one is the craziest. I think is the craziest. I understand the Wentz one, right? Like he was good. The teammates didn't love him all that much, but he was good. Then he got hurt and he was like 10% worse. And that was enough to have everything else crumble. And it just, he was stubborn, but I've seen that before. The Markelle Fultz thing was crazy, but because he was never good in the first place here, it didn't seem as crazy to me as what happened with the Ben thing. The Ben thing was he refused to play for an entire season for the Sixers. I mean, it was absolutely crazy. And that moment where he didn't, and forgetting about him not dunking the ball, he didn't take a shot in the fourth quarter for like 4 straight games.
Mm-hmm.
It was outrageous. And then he blamed all of his teammates and the fans and the organization. It was the most outrageous thing I've ever seen. And he may never play basketball again. Like it is an outrageous, crazy situation for a guy who was like first team all defense, all-star, Mr. 170, whatever the fuck he was.
Dude, it's so funny because I remember when you were still at WIP and Ben was still here, we would talk about him and we were like very much on the same page. If you can't score, I don't care what else. Like I have a pretty strong opinion that the best players are just the best scorers, and it is what it is. Like if you lead the league in points, you're the best player because you can score the best. But I will say this, and you're not going to like me for it.
No.
I do feel worse for Ben than I thought I would. Like from where I was on Ben to now, when I see like when he sat out for a year, I was like, this dude is just sitting out. If you look at how his career has played out, I do feel bad for the guy that his back is clearly messed up. He obviously went through something. We don't have to get into it, but I feel worse for him than I thought I would. Like he was a bad player. They shouldn't have drafted him. He deserved almost like all the criticism. I'm just surprised how I feel worse for him than I thought I would.
No, I agree with that. Most of my ire is not toward him. Most of my ire is toward the this is exactly what I tell as a manager. This is exactly what I tell people not to do. But because this isn't my profession, I'm going to do it. Like my ire is at the people who were mean to me, like and told me I was dumb. And there were listeners. I've said this many times. There were listeners of this podcast who like diehards, who were so awful, said like the most awful things. And it became like not bullying is the wrong word, but like in the school where everybody's pointing and laughing at you.
Combative.
Like, it was very strange. And I am never going to let them forget that I was right and they were wrong. I'm never going to let them forget it because they were so mean. And Ben is just like the conduit to all of it.
Well, I think there's a poem about that. So
yes, there is. And I agree with you. I think he brought it on himself, but when you're 20 years old or 21 years old or 22 years old, like it's a lot harder to prevent you from bringing things on yourself, especially when the people around you don't do anything to stop it. You know, not that he didn't have agency in it, but how much agency do you have in your, like, how smart are you when you're a 23-year-old, like, male? Yeah. You're a fucking idiot. Like, I was a fucking idiot at that age. I wasn't worth anything except for CJ. Most men aren't worth anything until they're like 30. I was a fucking idiot until I was at least 30. So
yeah, it's just weird seeing him on the bench tonight. You know, it was such like a hot rod in Philly sports. I talked about him so much, and now it's just like his career's over. He's never going to be the same guy. He got money. He'll live a good life in a lot of ways, but he is a tragic figure in some ways.
Him tweeting nice things to my dad after my dad's dog passed away. It was one of the, I stared at the internet. I stared at that tweet for 2 straight hours, just clicking on it over and over just to make sure there was actually Ben Simmons.
Well, now you'll never know because of the checks. So I guess today you could just tell yourself it's not him. But
how do we know who's who?
Exactly.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Elliot, for filling in.
Thank you for having me, man. I love the pod, and I'm happy to get to finally do a pod with you. So it was a fun time.
You came in firing away, which is not used. I'm not used to that. The other person's not used. I'm not used to like the other person being the take guy or whatever. But you did a good job.
If we do a few more pods, I think you're more used to me being the take guy. It's kind of my thing. I don't know. I didn't look at the comments, but look, it sucks to come in negative after they win. It does. I don't know what to say, but it's how I feel. I'm not going to lie just to make people happy. Like Embiid sucked. It is what it is, but they won. And it was a fun time doing the pod.
You can listen to Elliot on 94 WIP on the Go Birds pod, the preeminent Eagles podcast.
Yes.
You can follow him on Twitter at Elliot Shore Parks. And what's that other football podcast you do? Do you still do it?
Oh, the Best Football Show pod, the Odyssey pod. Yeah, yes. Still do that.
Best football show.
There is one thing I did want to plug if you don't mind. So,
oh, sure.
And I'll give you props for this. You were instrumental in pushing me to do it, but I did do the book drive this year during the Eagles season. I did with Read by Fourth, a place in Philly that collects books to help kids get to the correct reading level by 4th grade. On May 18th, they are doing a yearly event where they celebrate everything that's been accomplished that year. Tickets are $80. It's at the information's online. It's in downtown Philly. If you want to come hang out with me, it'd be fun. All the money goes to charity. So I remember when the Eagles were in the championship game, you tweeted it out, and I know there were a lot of Ricky people that donated to that. So I do want to say thank you to everybody. I know they can be mean to you sometimes, but your following is probably the nicest group of people in the city, and so I really appreciate everybody that donated.
That is very nice. Way to look. I always told you, doing charity stuff will make you feel good. So especially when everybody's making you feel like shit. If you email me and CJ the link, and we will put it so you don't have to search for it. We will put the link to that event to buy tickets in the pod description. All right, we will talk to you Saturday. AU is back Saturday after hopefully it is a sweep, and that's that. Do you want to say the thing at the end, or do you want to leave that to CJ?
I'll let CJ do it. He kept his job.
Okay.
I feel like he deserves it.
All right. We'll talk to you next time. Are you down with TTP?
Yeah. Lick face.